We're invited into the kitchen of Chef Hanroe Erasmus. He recently wowed the crowd with one of his signature dishes, and today he shares the recipe with Expresso viewers.
Welcome to the African Pride Melrose Arch Hotel, and today I'll be showing you how to make the Kudu Wellington. Now, the Kudu Wellington was recently voted at the Pick and Pay Taste of Joburg show as the dish of the show. Now, what you'll need to prepare the Kudu Wellington at home would be a beautiful kudu loin. You'll also need some cracked black pepper, rosemary and sea salt. Then you would also need to bake a pancake, a herb pancake, and what you would require there is half a cup of cake flour, half a teaspoon of baking powder, some butter, salt, sugar, 1 egg, a cup of milk, a cup of water and some chopped herbs. You also need to do some sautéed spinach, so what you would require is some deveined spinach, onions, garlic and some oil for the frying. For the final step of a Wellington, once you roll it in, you're going to need some high quality puff pastry, egg and milk for some egg wash, English mustard and some flour for dusting. So before we roll the meat, what I usually do is I just brush it over butter. Now what the butter does, it's a dual function. So it gives the meat a beautiful brown color once it goes onto the grill, and it also helps the herbs to stick onto the meat. From there it goes onto the grill. Now it's very important to have the grill as hot as possible. So what I would recommend is having like a braai or even a griddle pan on the stove. If none of those are available, just a very hot pan will do. The reason why we're doing this is to seal the meat on the outside. So once it bakes, as little as possible liquid seeps out, as it's very important with a Wellington to try and keep everything as dry as possible. Okay, so once there's no more pink visible around the meat, you know it's been seared properly, and you can take it off and put it aside to cool down. So you just put the kudu down here to rest, and our next step would be to make the herb crepes or pancakes.
A tip from Chef Hanroe is to leave the batter in the fridge for an hour before using it, and only heat the pan to a medium to low temperature.
Great, and that's number 6 pancake. That should be just enough to cover the Wellington completely on the inside. Now the reason we need to put these pancakes aside is that it's needs to be really cold when we're rolling our Wellingtons, as the puff pastry needs to be as cold as possible, otherwise it won't puff and the butter will start seeping out of it.
To make the sautéed spinach, use a finely chopped onion with 2 teaspoons of fresh garlic and a teaspoon of olive oil for every 2 cups of spinach.
It's very important to cover the table very equally with flour, otherwise the puff pastry will stick. Right. Once we've got the table floured, we need to take the puff pastry and measure it out just shorter than what the actual loin is, because once we roll it up, it will stretch a bit and then we can work from there. Let's pack out the pancakes. You'll see that 4 pancakes fits exactly lengthwise, and then let's take the further 2 and cut them in half so that you can cover over the other 4. Okay. So the next step is to layer the spinach over the crepes. Again, try and do it as level as possible and as wide an area as possible, so that you know when you cut it open that you'll see the different layers inside. The next step is to egg wash the outside rim that we left open. So egg wash is simple. It's just the 1 egg and a bit of milk, just so it becomes more of a fluid. Brush the loin with the English mustard. Now be quite liberal with it, as the English mustard carries a lot of flavor and you would like to cover the entire loin. Once the loin's placed, just take the back end, fold it over the side of a loin, and with both hands roll the loin onto itself. Now just moving it into a baking pan and off to the oven at 220 degrees Celsius for 20 minutes. Great, so it's straight out of the oven, and it's a beautiful brown, bronzy color, exactly what we were looking for. The edges are just going to be discarded, so we just want to cut into this piece here. And as you can see, you've got a beautiful medium rare going there. Great, so over here we've got about 12 slices. All we need to do now is just plate it up as a family style meal. The sauce that goes beautifully with this is a port jus, which is basically just a nice gravy with some port wine instead of red wine.
Served with colorful garden vegetables, it's a meal to remember. Go on, try this recipe at home and knock the socks off your family and friends. Bon appetit!
By supporting the Hoedspruit Endangered Species Centre, that's where we found goodness. Pick and Pay, always there for you.